everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Tonight we are going to be making a pan-seared salmon with a lemony dill sauce, a creamy lemony dill sauce, some roasted green beans, and some boiled potatoes with sour cream and onions. So we're going to start by putting our potatoes in our water. I'm going to boil them. These are just some baby Dutch potatoes. They're nice, little waxy. They're perfect to for just boiling straight up and then doing like a little light mash with them. So we're gonna put these in our boiling water. We're gonna let those cook up while we prep the rest. Okay, so we're gonna prep our green beans. So I'm gonna slice up one yellow onion. I'm gonna do some thin slices on it. And I do have my oven preheating to 425 on the air fryer setting. I'm gonna take off this outer layer. And we're gonna do some, I'm gonna cut it in half and do some long slices because since our green beans are long, we want our onions long too. There we go. I'll put this on my baking sheet over here. There we go. I'll put this on my baking sheet over here. There. Just going to use a yellow onion. Those are best for roasting. And then I've got a pack of some pre-washed French green beans. Put them out on our dish, and we're just gonna dress these with a little bit of olive oil. About a tablespoon or so, you don't need too much. And then a nice sprinkle of garlic salt. And I think I forgot to grab my pepper. We're gonna use some black pepper. Black pepper is you gotta do it. It's gonna be the star of it. It just cooks them up nicely. I'm gonna put about a half a teaspoon of ground black pepper. And then we're gonna give this a nice toss. And we're gonna try to break up our onions and make sure our green beans get coated in all of the olive oil and the garlic salt and the pepper. And perfect. So just trying to make sure my onions get broken up so they'll crisp up nicely as well. Perfect. And now I have my green beans ready to pop in the oven in just a second. Just break these up. There we go. Now I'm going to give my hands a quick wash. Okay, now let's prep our salmon. We are just using a big fillet of salmon for our family. We're feeding 7 tonight, so that's a big, we've got my 5 kids plus a husband and I, so we'll use a whole side of our salmon. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut this into fillets, but I'm gonna even this guy off right here. And because that way it can cook nicely. So I'm just gonna cut these into about, I wanna say 2-inch fillets. So they're about a serving size per person. And you could already, if you're at the grocery store and you're already buying the pre-cut fillets, that is perfect. It works just as well. It's just a bit cheaper for me for feeding our big family to buy our big fillet here. And cut right through this. Salmon is just we love, in our family, we love salmon, so we eat it probably once a week, I would think. And I try to cook it several different ways. So that it's not the same old. So we're gonna kind of do it like a Swedish way with a creamy dill sauce. So got my fillets here, and for what we're gonna start, we're just gonna do a little bit of garlic salt over the top of each one, because most of our flavor is gonna come through in the creamy lemon dill sauce that we're gonna make and serve with it. But we do wanna make sure our salmon has some nice flavor on it. Perfect. So just a little bit of garlic salt over the top. And I'm gonna wash my hands and my knife. There we go. And now we're gonna start heating up some olive oil, and we're gonna sear our salmon off in our pan. So we're gonna just put a little bit of oil in here, just kind of enough to cover the bottom of it so we can get a nice crispy sear on it. And when you're cooking salmon, you wanna cook presentation side down first. So what that means is, since this has skin on it, we're gonna put the face down with the skin up. So the pretty side of the salmon is gonna cook first, and then we'll flip it over. So we've got our oil heating up. I'm gonna grab out a second cutting board. That way I can work on prepping our creamy lemon dill sauce. But before we go and do that, let's pop our green beans in the oven, because I just heard it beep. These are going in the air fryer at 425. So I have an air fryer setting. If your oven does not have an air fryer setting, you can do convection bake at 425. It's very similar. So we're gonna put these in here, and they only need about 10 minutes to cook. They don't need too long, sometimes a little bit less. So I'll check on them in a few minutes while we're prepping our the rest of dinner. So I've got my olive oil heating up. Now we're gonna make our yummy lemon cream sauce for thing. So we're gonna be using some dill, some fresh parsley, some fresh lemon juice, and some cream. So we're gonna start out by this. I'm gonna put some cream in here. It's probably gonna be maybe like a half a cup, because we're gonna want enough to be able to spoon it over all of our fish. And then I'm gonna start out with my lemon. And I'm going to squeeze my lemon juice right over our cream, and we're gonna let it sit. And by doing this, it's gonna cause the the cream to kind of curdle into sour cream. So it's gonna make like a creme fraiche almost. And you wanna just squeeze the fresh lemon juice right over. Let me see if I have here. There we go. Get it all out in there, and that is gonna kind of create a creme fraiche, or like a really fresh sour cream, but it will give it a nice lemony flavor. So we've got that, and we're gonna do it with our other one. It's funny, my lemon's a little bit frozen because the fridge outside must be a little bit colder because it's been cold the last weekend. There we go. So we're just gonna let this sit on top, and that's gonna start to kind of curdle it in a minute or two. So if you ever like need sour cream for a recipe and you're out, just take some heavy cream and some lemon juice, and you just squeeze it over, and you'll have like essentially like a mock sour cream. I've got my oil, I think, to a nice temperature. I can hear it popping, which tells me that it's hot enough. But another way to check your oil to see if it's hot enough is to put a little drizzle of water in it. So just splash it in, and if it sizzles, it will be nice and hot. Okay, I'm gonna turn it down, and then I'm gonna put my fillets in here, presentation side down. There we go.
You have a question? Can you use vinegar instead of lemon juice?
You can use vinegar if you want. That's another quick way to make. But it's not. It's gonna have more of a vinegar flavor than a like a lemon flavor. So for us, we're making like a lemon dill sauce. So I like the lemon in it. But yes, like you could technically use vinegar and it would do it as well. I like to use the lemon juice and fresh lemon over like the true lemon, which is like that pre-squeezed lemon. And we're gonna put in about, I want to say, a half a tablespoon of dried dill. If you have fresh dill, you put in about a tablespoon of fresh dill. And we're gonna put in some garlic salt, about a half a tablespoon, maybe a teaspoon of garlic salt. We don't need too much of that since seasoned it. And then we're gonna chop up some fresh parsley to add in here. So I'm gonna just take off a good bunch from my herbs and I'm gonna give it a quick wash. I'm gonna use some of this also for our potatoes that are boiling. I'm just squeezing my herbs out, kind of like wringing out a towel, just to get any excess water out. And then I'm going to remove some of the big stems because those don't have the nice flavors like the leaves and have a bit more of a chewy texture. So we're going to get some of those big stems out. And I was in Memphis this weekend, and Memphis has an IKEA, or I guess in America you guys call them IKEAs. And I was there, so I got myself a new cutting board and a couple of other things around the house. I love IKEA. My mother is from Sweden, so to me, every time I go there, I'm like, ooh, look at all this cool stuff. And I have to buy a bunch of, little Swedish treats there and things. And I know it's like not super bougie, but I just love it. I wish, we live just outside of Nashville. I wish Nashville had one. I'd probably go there way too much. Okay. So we're giving a nice little mince up on our parsley. And I'm going to use half of this parsley in our sauce, and half of it is going to go with our potatoes. I'll put it in here. And then I'm going to get my tongs and check on our salmon. I still think it needs about a little bit longer because I normally like to look for if the browning of the crisp, but I always like to check to see how it's not quite brown yet. A good way to check is just to see if you see like a brown crust forming on the outside of our salmon. So we'll have, for tonight, we're making our pan-seared salmon with a creamy lemon dill sauce and some fresh parsley. And then we've just put our roasted green beans and onions in the oven that we tossed with some garlic salt and some black pepper and olive oil. And I'm going to check on our potatoes. We are boiling some baby Dutch potatoes. And what I'm going to do when we're done with them, I'll strain them and then I'll put some butter in and some salt. And then we'll toss them with a little bit of green onions and parsley and then serve with some sour cream. So kind of like a sour cream and green onion potato salad. Let me check these guys. So what I like to do with these is you're going to find your biggest potato out of the bunch. And if your fork can go through it easily, they're ready. So mine's getting stuck, so they need a little bit longer to cook. That's just a good way to check your potato if they're done, because you don't want to pull them out before they're cooked all the way through. Okay, let's check on our salmon here. Almost. We're getting a nice brown crispy on it. Maybe about a minute left on that. So I'm going to get a spoon and do our first around here. So what we had in here is we poured our cream in here, and then I squeezed over juice from one fresh lemon, and we let it sit for a little bit. That lemon juice is going to kind of turn that cream into like a sour cream or a cream fresh. And then we added some a dill. I had dry dill. I don't have any fresh dill. And then some fresh parsley and some garlic salt. And this is we're gonna kind of drizzle this over our salmon. And it's just a lovely lemon dill cream sauce. It just brightens up, I think, It's, you know, it's a nice thing to do in the summer when you're doing it, but when being at IKEA this weekend, I was like, ooh, it reminded me of all the lovely salmon dishes we had in Sweden. And I went there for our family reunion when I was a kid. Okay, so now I flipped them over and we're gonna cook the other side, skins down. Takes a little bit longer. If you don't have skins on it, then they'll be done a little bit quicker. But when you are frying your salmon up, always remember, or any fish, presentation side down so that you can have this really beautiful crispy top. It will have a nice crust to it and flavor, and also just elevate the look of your dish. Even though, if you know me, I'm more about flavor than looks. So let's prep our green onions for our potatoes. So I'm gonna just chop off the tips of these green onions. I already washed them when I grabbed them out. And I'm gonna use all of them up until it starts to get a little bit white, because those parts of the onion are a little bit more fragrant in flavor, and I want more of a mild onion flavor. You could also use chives if you had chives, but chives are a little bit harder to find. In the summer, I have fresh chives grown in my garden, and so I can use those as well. They're a bit more delicate, and they're great for adding on like potatoes and little extra garnishes. But green onions are still delicious, but I just like to use the tips of them when I'm gonna use them as more of like a garnish flavor than the star. So I'm gonna go over and give these a quick little mince, and do that. I think we're ready to put our next set of salmon in. Here they are. So, got these out. Fish cooks really fast in there, so you don't want to overcook it. It takes only about 2 to 3 minutes on each side, which is different than like chicken. Chicken you'd have to cook much longer. We're going to do our presentation side down. There we go. Okay, let's check on our potatoes and see how they're cooking. Tonight's dinner is just a simple, quick dinner, but delicious nonetheless. Again, we want to find our biggest potato in here, and then I'm going to press and see how easy my fork went right through that. That means our potatoes are ready, which is perfect. So I'm going to turn the water off, and we're going to give them a quick strain. Here we go. I have several types of colanders. I love this one. It's quick and easy to do a small amount with. Okay. So I've got my potatoes. I'm putting them right back in my pot. No need to waste an extra dish. And I am going to put in some butter that will melt around the top of it. So these potatoes are gonna feed 7, so I'm gonna use about 3.5 tablespoons of butter. And this is gonna really give it the seasonings. We're gonna coat around it, but I'm just gonna put that in there and I'm gonna let it melt. But before we move to our next step, let me check our salmon and then we'll go grab our green beans out. These need a little bit longer. I want to see how I want a nice rich coat like that one. This is a very mild coat and I want a nice rich one. So let's go grab our green beans. I believe they should be done. They roast up pretty quickly. This is a great dinner. Sometimes I've got to have dinners that are good and fresh but out in no time. And I feel like salmon and boiled potatoes, oh perfect. They've just got a little bit of crispiness on them, which is perfect. We got some crispy onions here. Beautiful. They smell delicious. So I'm going to put these on a trivet. And then I'm just going to give them a quick toss. And I like to toss my stuff when I take them right out of the air fryer, just to let the natural moisture kind of rehydrate them a little bit. Beautiful. Okay, let's finish mincing up our green onions or our potatoes. So we've got parsley, green onions, and we put some butter in with our potatoes, and we're gonna toss in a little bit of garlic salt. But before we do that, I think our salmon is about ready for a flip. There we go. Got our nice crispy edges on it. And I'm cooking it on around a medium heat. You don't want to have your oil too high or you'll burn it. And if you have it too low, you'll cook it, but it might take forever. And you might not get that nice golden crisp. So medium works great for this. We've got our potatoes that we boiled. And we put our butter in. So I'm going to give it a nice stir in here. And then I'm going to give it a little drizzle of garlic salt. Kind of coat the outside of it. So the inside of our potatoes won't have much flavor, so you want the outside to really shine to kind of pick up on what's going to be on the inside. So we kind of put maybe a teaspoon and a half of garlic salt over our potatoes. Now we're going to add in our parsley and our green onions. I'm going to give it a nice stir. Beautiful. I think I've got a bit more. And these will just give a really fresh, vibrant flavor. And then we'll serve with like a dollop of sour cream on the top. So you've kind of got that sour cream and onion flavor too, which pairs well with the lemony dill sauce. But guess what, guys? Dinner is just about ready. I'm going to serve up a plate and show you how we're going to eat it tonight. Okay. So we'll have our side of green beans. These are our oven roasted green beans. We just tossed them with some olive oil, onions, black pepper, and garlic salt. Super simple but delicious. We're going to take our pan-seared salmon and our green onion and parsley potatoes here. And let's do this with a lovely drizzle of our lemon dill sauce. And then I like to serve my potatoes with a nice dollop of sour cream. So let me grab the spoon for that. And this is how we'll be eating dinner tonight. Super simple. I think we made this in less than 30 minutes, but nice, filling, and delicious. Well, guys, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We try to do live cooking shows every single day for you. And feel free to send us a message or a comment about any cooking questions you have or recipes you guys would like to see us make. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We made our salmon with a lemony dill sauce, our boiled potatoes with parsley and green onions, and our roasted green beans. Thanks.